Good. Good evening, everyone. I want to call the Town Council meeting to order. Today is Monday, April 20th, and I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor Rhodes to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Sue, will you call the roll? We doing that?
Counselor Bailey,
Here.
Counselor Durick,
Here.
Counselor Forrest,
Here.
Counselor Pentelow,
Here.
Counselor Wands,
Here.
Counselor Weiner,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Rhodes,
here.
Mayor Lesser.
Here. Thank you. And good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you all. Tonight is our special public hearing on the budget, but we have a few things to do before that.
We do.
And first, I want to call on Counselor Bailey for the purposes of a motion. Actually, I think a couple motions.
I
Counselor
will
Bailey.
actually do the motion first. I'd like to present a motion to add to an agenda item to fill the vacancy of the town council.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Any discussion?
No, you're good. We do it.
Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? It's added to the agenda. Counselor Bailey.
Secondly, I would like to thank Shelley for her service to the town and the council. She did an amazing job, brought up a ton of questions and had answers for everything. She did a great job, and again, thank her very much.
And before we get to the next one, I'd like to also make some comments on Shelley's behalf. So Shelley joined the council in 2022 in June as a replacement, appointment, and we appreciate her service. She did a lot of wonderful things on the council. She was instrumental in helping with pickleball. Some of us teamed up with her in terms of that issue. She also was a dedicated liaison to the library board and to the youth advisory board and served on the Citizens Recognition Committee in picking our winners for the Key to the Town and the Spirit of Wethersfield. And we thank Shelley for her dedicated service. And before we get to nomination, any counselor want to make any other comment about Counselor Carbone before we entertain the motion? Counselor Pennell.
She will be missed tremendously for our side and for your side.
Thank you, Counselor Pentelow. Anyone else? Hearing, Counselor Forrest.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Certainly want to echo some of the nice, kind thoughts that we've talked about. I kind of wish Shelley were here because I think it's important to say it to people's faces sometimes, like how much and how hard it is, sort of some of the decisions we make, but mostly what the commitment is from ourselves, for ourselves, to review budgets. And I agree, Shelley was dedicated. She reviewed the budgets. She looked through a lot of things, made us all think. And I appreciated that. And she worked with us often. And she's a good person. And I appreciate her up here. I appreciate her take on things. And she will be missed. We're going to be bringing in some new blood, which is great. But anytime that someone dedicates themselves to the town, they have my respect. And so she does.
Thank you, Counselor Forrest. Anyone else before? Okay, I'll recognize Counselor Bailey to continue.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Brian DiCiaccio to fill the vacancy of the town council in accordance with the town charter, section 205.
Second.
Been moved in second. Discussion on the motion. Counselor Bailey, you still have the floor.
No, great choice. Looking forward to working with you, brother.
Anyone want to make a comment? I'll just say we are looking forward to, we're excited to have you on the council, and we welcome you. And if there's no other discussion, I will call the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Welcome to the council. I think you've been sworn in, and
One more step.
anybody wants to take pictures, this is a good time to do it. Sue will swear you in.
She also gives you the secret handshake.
Please raise your right hand. And do you, Brian DiCiaccio, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut so long as you are president thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge according to law your duties as a member of the Renovation Town Council of the Town?
I do. You guys want to take some pictures?
Way to go, Brian.
You can take a quick photo if you want.
Us in the middle.
Yeah.
Coming around?
Want everyone or just? The family. The family? I don't know if you want us out of the way, though. Don't want to ruin the family portrait. Let Counselor DiCiancio get settled. And Counselor, do you want to make any comments before we move on in our agenda?
Yes, I just want to say thank you for the kind words, and I look forward to working with the council, and I look forward to rolling up my sleeves and working for the neighbors of Wethersfield. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. We're glad you're here. So moving on in our agenda, we have our second Kid Mayor presentation. Last meeting, we had the Kid Mayor from Highcrest. We will have our 5 elementary schools represented the next few meetings. And tonight, we're honored to have Alana Hernandez, the Kid Mayor at Emerson-Williams School. And Alana's going to lead. Alana, you're going to come up here. You're going to sit.
Time to be the mayor. You're going to run the show.
And you can just talk right in the microphone. You'll do great. You can sit.
Hello, my name is Alana, and I would like to be considered for Kid Mayor of Wethersfield. I live in Wethersfield, and I really care about my town and the people who live here. I want to be Kid Mayor because I want to help make our community a better place for everyone. I enjoy spending time with my baby brother Ezra, and I love him very much, even though he loves screaming for no reason and biting me. I have an older sister, Melina, who enjoys doing her hair and makeup. Unlike myself, I love playing basketball, even though I'm not the best yet. But I know I'll get better. Another hobby of mine is building Legos. I currently have a shelf dedicated to all my creations. Enjoying myself with my friends and being in the moment brings me happiness. Respectfulness is a value I carry dearly. I listen carefully, find solutions to problems. I'm honest and responsible. I could be also someone people could count on. I can be me with my things, meaning I wouldn't lose anything valuable. I could prove that I could do all these things that are important in a leader by serving the needs of a community. If a leader wasn't responsible or anything else I've said, they wouldn't be a good partner or a representative. A good leader needs to share their ideas and help the community. Without doing so, it would give off the impression that they don't truly care about what the people want, and I care deeply about the people. One change I would like to make as Kid Mayor is helping reduce unnecessary water usage. I drink at least 15 cups of water every day, and I'm really healthy. But if you drink too much daily, it could be really bad for your health and could be it could be wasting water when you don't need it because you're already hydrated. Water is very important, but sometimes it is wasted on things that don't need to be wasted on. Examples of this would be leaving the sink on and leaving it running for minutes. If people use too much water, we could run out of clean water in the future. Even AI, which uses computers to work, needs a lot of electricity, and making that electricity often uses a lot of water, as in gallons of water. This means AI could lead to a lot of water use too, which isn't good for the environment or for us, and AI is very unnecessary. I would like to help teach people ways to save water at home and around town so we could protect it for the future. This is very important because if we don't have water, no person, plant, or animal would survive. Another change I would like to make is help stop littering in Wethersfield. Litter hurts animals in the environment. Animals could get sick or injured by trash, and this can cause their populations to decrease or even become extinct. It's important for them not to go extinct because if an animal goes extinct, it could be a predator's food. and that would mean they wouldn't have enough food, so they would get skinnier until they die. And it would keep going until all animals are gone. And for us to eat, we need animals too, which is why it's important for them to not go extinct. We will also barely have any iron in our bodies, which would cause us to get skinnier as well. I would encourage people to clean up after themselves and participate in community cleanups to help protect animals and keep our town clean. This can be done by keeping signs up to encourage more people to throw away trash and to let animals survive. I throw away my trash when I'm done, especially at the beach, because animals like turtles or fish can get caught up in it or cut themselves for it and get injured badly. I will also like to feed more trash cans around town to make it easier for adults, teens, and kids to throw away their trash, which would help reduce litter. I saw a video about a beach full of trash. It was disappointing to me because there was trash cans everywhere and no one decided to put it in the trash properly, instead ruining the beautiful beach. I am a great leader and encourage people to follow their dreams. I want to help my community, and even if I don't get chosen for the role of Kid Mayor, I will still continue helping others to make a difference. I will try my best to listen to people's ideas and work hard to make it happen. Finally, if you consider me for this role, I promise to give you my thoughtfulness, honesty, and kindness. With that being said, we will all come together to fix the ongoing issue of water waste and litter. After all, we all want to live in our own utopia. Thank you for considering my essay.
Well, we kind of mentioned Brian and Sue and Scott. And Mom, you can stay right where you are for a second, because we want to get you in the picture. Take a quick photo. And then... Erica, can you get everybody? You have Matt? So you get Brian. We'll get the new person.
Everybody smile. All right.
Alana, you did a great job. You want to shake all of our hands? Again, you did a great job.
Great job.
Thank you. Alana? Excellent job. So we are proud of Alana and all of our kid mayors and kid chairs, and you represented your school beautifully. Congratulations again. We are going to move on in our agenda now, and tonight is the budget hearing for schools and the town budget, and I'm first going to call on our superintendent of schools, Jeff Wihbey, to present the board's budget. So, Mr. Superintendent, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I like the red jacket.
Thank you.
Maroon. Looks nice.
Are we projecting?
Once we have the presentation by the superintendent, we'll have the presentation by the town manager, and then we'll open up the public hearing for anybody who wants to comment or ask a question about the budget. So, superintendent first.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, council members. I have my whole slide deck from previously, but I only plan on going through a few of them. I just kept them all in case folks had questions from previous slides, but they'll be here, but I'm going to whip through them pretty quickly. You know, the first slide that I kind of wanted to cover was our opening slide. The board and I paused this year due to town financial conditions and finite resources, as well as the overwhelming generosity that was shown to us by the taxpayers in Wethersfield with the you know, the successful passage of the referendum for the 3 new elementary schools. You know, there's certainly many areas that we would like to grow in the schools this year, but it's just not, this isn't the year to do something like that. You know, ultimately, I presented to the board, and the board approved one of the regionally and the DERG lower proposed budgets for FY27. We tried to stick to just priorities and paramount needs. We didn't put in things, you know, the nice to have types of things. Just kind of summarizing the numbers. The board's proposed budget was for $70,490,000. This was an increase of 4.8% over last year, which was to the tune of $3,021,000. You know, the largest driver obviously was salaries and benefits, which comprised 82.27% of this budget, or $57.992 million. The board approved budget would include no layoffs and no temporary rifts of positions. Again, you know, the budget drivers were largely salary and benefits, comprising up to, you know, 92% of the proposed budget. Again, some of the things that we did invest in, the strategic investments were connected to early literacy at the elementary schools, focused on kindergarten through grade 4, and also what we call a service delivery audit of our high needs learners, how we're providing services for them. You know, just for, I always like to give benchmarks for reference. Current certified staffing levels remain reasonably in the middle of our DERG. This is straight from the State Department of Education database. Some folks were asking, where is this? It's on the State Department of Education website. All these numbers come from what's called EdSite on the State Department. As you kind of see, our staffing levels remain reasonably in the middle of our district resource group. We're not asking for any new administrators, but I want to point out Wethersfield has one of the lowest number of certified administrators in DERG D, second lowest. Not asking for any, but I'm just saying. Current per pupil expenditure trails the DERG and the state mean and median. We're in the lower quartile. And it's important to know that we're in the mid-range for achievement. So you're getting a good value despite the $19,000 per pupil. You're outperforming many other districts that are expending much more. So you are getting a good value on return on your investment. I want to bring to your attention 10-year budget. These are two data points shown over the top of each other. It's 10 years of budget increases and 10 years of insurance. We've seen generationally high inflationary pressures, particularly on insurance over the last 7 years. This has significantly reduced the board and the town's budget buying power for other vital needs like professional development and staffing. You know, again, 4 out of 7 of the last years have had double-digit increases in insurance costs. And that's like the gift that keeps on giving, because Those basically get internalized into that budget cost moving forward. So the average budget increase in this time frame has been 3.07. I'm like, got to get a magnifying glass. The average premium increase for insurance is 8.20 over that time. So we lost buying power to the tune of about 5% over that 10-year period. So, it's just important to note those inflationary pressures hit everything. We're starting to see relaxation of, oil costs, electricity costs a little bit, but the insurance piece hasn't quite caught up with some of the other things. Again, just a reiteration of some of the other budget drivers. I told you the big ones. Transportation is up about $136,000 over last year. Instructional program improvement increase is up $56,000, but that line also includes the $75,000 proposal for our audit of services. So it's kind of like we added 75, but we're only up 56 because we did make about a $20,000 cut in that line in other areas. So the net is up 56. Pupil services is increasing about $60,000, and technology equipment is decreasing. Give you some good news, decreasing about $105,000 as our Chromebook inventory partially refreshed during the second half of this current school year. So we went ahead and purchased some of the, the Chromebooks with some current funds this year to take off a little pressure for next year, and gave us an opportunity to put some savings into next year's budget. That's that's kind of the high point, so I'll pause at this point. Mr. Mayor, if you have folks.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And we will, in a second, see if there are any quick council comments or questions, but I will remind the council that we have a specific workshop coming up with the board will be part of where we can ask questions, and tonight is more designed for public hearing, public input. But if someone wants to ask a quick question or make a quick comment before we go to the town manager, we certainly will allow for that. Councilor Bailey.
I just have a quick question, and I apologize because I didn't hear it. At the beginning of your presentation, you said no layoffs and no... I didn't hear the second part of it.
RIF is a reduction in force, is a RIF. It's another way to say a layoff.
Okay.
No layoffs, no RIFs.
Thank you.
With this proposed budget.
All right. And again, I apologize, I just didn't hear you.
I probably mumbled.
All set, Councilor Bailey?
Yes.
Yep. I saw Councilor Weiner. Are you...
Wands can go before Weiner.
Councilor Wands, I have Councilor Forrest as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Superintendent. I have a question for you. I know that the Board of Ed approved the budget before some of the insurance numbers that we're actually going to be talking about later on in the hearing were finalized here. And I know there's going to be some cost savings. So I'm wondering, what is the cost savings on the school side for the Cigna contract that we'll be voting on later tonight, and how does that affect the overall percentage increase that you'll be having?
That would actually give us a little bit of relief to the proposed budget, to probably the tune. I'm going to give you a conservative number, Councilman Wands, probably about $200,000 conservatively.
Thank you.
Could be a little more, could be a little less, but I think that's like a good ballpark number.
Thank you.
Councilor Wands, all set? Councilor Weiner?
Yep, Superintendent Wihbey, thanks for coming in again. The Council's received several emails over the last month about a class size at Hamner Elementary, specifically 5th grade. So two-part question. One, I'm sure the board has. I'm curious to see if you've heard the same concerns. And the second part of that question is it something that you're looking at addressing in the budget as we move forward here?
Yep, I mean, we have multiple plans ready to go, on deck, waiting, depending on, there's two variables that we wait for before we, we lock into what we're going to do. First, we have to wait until kindergarten enrollment is done because, you could have 15 or 20 more kindergartners move into town or, that we didn't know about. So you kind of have to make sure that you have the right number of sections set up for kindergarten. So that's the first variable we wait on with bated breath every year. And then the second thing is we wait till we have an approved budget. And once we have an approved budget, then we can set up all of our, sections across the board. We're keeping a close eye on Hanmer, 5th grade, and we have probably three and a half types of scenarios on how to kind of address those, depending on how those two variables I mentioned work out.
Council Weiner?
Thank you.
All set? Councilor Forrest?
Thanks. Thank you, John, because I was going there. Yep. But the follow-up
your mind.
question is, what's
I read your mind.
Yeah, you did. I think you read a lot of mine. So the question is, though, you have a few scenarios, but we're sort of charged with providing resources. So how do we have that communication in this process in May to make sure that we're prepared in order to have options, if they're necessary, to handle the current Hamner situation and maybe other, I'll call hotspots. I serve on the Board of Education too. I've seen the numbers go back and forth, but you kind of do know, especially in 5th grade. Kindergarten's a little bit of a wild card, but in 5th grade, you're like, okay, 3 or 4 could come in, 3 or 4 could go out. Maybe we need it, we may not, but we need to be able to be nimble enough over the next 90 days and even past budget. So how do we associate what we need to do on our end to ensure that you have the flexibility to do what you need to do on yours?
I mean, we provide a budget that has a tiny hair of, flexibility. We're pretty hard set on our sections for the most part, but we start to go and take a look at sections to kind of answer, what we're going to do. I think, I'm not going to tell you what to give us or anything like that. That's totally up to you.
But you've given us the budget.
But we always want to have a little bit of flexibility because things can change quickly, not even just with kids moving in and out, connected to, outplacements and such things. I'm not sure quite how to answer that question, I guess. I'm kind of tap dancing around a little bit, but, certainly it's important for us to have some flexibility in that budget for the various ideas that we're thinking about for, that 5th grade or, even other areas as well.
So what's the plan on communication between this council and the Board of Education to understand that as we continue to deliberate about the education budget specifically, and if we are thinking like, hey, we like this budget as it is, the healthcare comes in differently, we're thinking about making some cuts, we're thinking about making some additions, how do we have that dialogue and ensure that if we make a decision for X, that you're going to have the flexibility for Y being maybe ensuring that class sizes are at an appropriate level, especially at all levels. And we need to be able to communicate back and forth and be able to do that. So what is your proposal? How should we're deliberating one night here and we say, hey, we think the budget should be X. How do we know that that's a number that can do what we need it to do, which is provide the appropriate class sizes for our students?
I mean, I would say open dialogue with the Board of Ed, and certainly we've got a workshop coming up, and I think, that's helpful too for us to kind of get into the some more of the nuts and bolts with the town council, so that I think you better understand what we're looking at. Again, I urge you to consider a little bit of flexibility. And like I said, with a good question from the counselor, we learned that we have a little bit of breathing room based on the fortuitous information we got from the health insurance.
Right.
But, just keep into consideration, we might need a little bit of other flexibility outside of that as well.
And on one of the slides here, it talks about reading interventionists, kindergarten and paraeducators, and a service delivery program. Is that the 3 major initiatives that you have in this particular budget?
It is.
I'm guessing that's what it is. So over the last, I'm going to say 5 to 7 years, and this is a ballpark, there's been a large discussion between the Board of Education and the council about the needs for especially like social workers and having kids coming in to be able to be taught to, which makes a lot of sense to me, and we had a lot of conversation. If kids are thinking about something going on at home or where their next meal is going to be, how are we going to learn math, right, or whatever it is? Like, let's start there. So this seems to be a little bit of a shift from maybe that sort of those needs, and maybe this is a good thing. But can you tell the council a little bit about why these are the particular budgetary needs, and why you think that this is the leadership that our town should have for the educational needs of the town?
I think this is the right thing to do right now in Wethersfield, because I look at the achievement in Wethersfield, and I'm concerned that you're in the middle of the pack of the DIRG. And Wethersfield's not a middle of the pack town. Wethersfield should be number 1, 2, or 3 in the DIRG every single year. And that's always what I'm going to look to achieve. And reading is the king in kinder through 4th grade. And a lot of times, if kids aren't reading at grade level by the end of 3rd grade, sometimes it manifests into behavior issues, social issues, engagement issues. So a lot of times, if kids can read on grade level by 3rd grade, they're able to engage with rigorous, exciting content in 5th through 12th grade. And so that kind of helps. It doesn't mean social worker, psychologist, social emotional learning needs aren't important. Sure. We certainly have some of those, and I do think that there had been some investment in those in the previous years. Now I think it's time to roll up our sleeves and to start focusing on reading, mathematics, and science. And that's probably the next 3 budget cycles what you're going to hear out of me, kind of like a 1, 2, 3. Reading this year, mathematics next year, probably science, the following year. I think it's important to kind of focus on those 3, not like pushing SEL needs out of the way. Maintaining, I think, what you have. You do have a lot of good current services. We received a seed grant for the state to the tune of $130,000 this current school year that helped, I believe, we used it for a social worker, and we might be having that again next year. So I feel somewhat confident that we're still keeping our eye on that ball. We're not going to drop that ball, but I do think it's time to have a focus on that early literacy. Almost certainly next year, based on the student achievement data, I'll be coming back and saying I really want to focus on 5 through 8 mathematics. I want to see all of our kids successfully achieving Algebra 1 credit by 8th grade by 2030. So that's going to probably be the next, focuses I had kind of mentioned. So they're not mutually exclusive. You need to have both. Everything that you said is completely accurate. If kids are struggling with social emotional things, it's hard for them to learn reading and math and science. But I do believe that if we're skilling kids up enough, it helps build their it helps build their academic stamina so that they can kind of persevere in the classroom and still do well.
And last question, are these given to us in sort of priority order, right? If we can budget for 1, 2, not all 3, but should we be looking at the reading interventionist first, the kindergarten para second, and the service delivery program review third?
I think they're all important. I mean,
of course, yeah. But
I want to do them all no matter what. I'll figure out a way, to do all of them, no matter what. I think budgetarily, because these things would probably these 3 would outweigh maybe other things in the budget. So it's not like these are the last 3, like if you're thinking about like the NCAA tournament, like the last 4 teams to get in, I would say those 3 are not the last 3 things to get into the budget. I would say they're probably up in like, the Elite 8, and maybe we might find some other things down below. But so my answer is, I think all of them would probably make the grade. If you were to say, hey, we're going to need X dollars, I would probably say, we'll have to go find it out of somewhere else. Those things I think are, so important to student success in Wethersfield for next year. I would, the teachers are definitely big. I'm like shocked that we don't have reading interventionists at any of our elementary schools in Wethersfield. That blows me away. I came from a district where we were a lot smaller, a little bit more affluent, and we had like 2 or 3 reading interventionists at each one of our elementary schools. And, you know, those schools were like towards the top of the DERG, top of the state. And it was because we had those teachers in place. And, you know, that's kind of my 2 cents on that, is I do think that they're all very important. The reading interventionists are certainly super important. You know, kinder literacy paras are very important because, you know, that's just such a critical time frame for kids. Most elementary school kindergartens have a para in every classroom for literacy. We're just proposing 1 per school that would be shared across. And that service delivery model, probably the biggest struggle we have is what's called our high needs learners in Wethersfield. That's our students with an IEP, our students identified as EL, and our students who are free and reduced. Those kids in 3 of our 7 schools are achieving at greater than 1 standard deviation than the rest of the general population. So in order to raise all of our boats, you know, we have to kind of look at those. And that service delivery audit will give us some good insight, not only on how to improve how we educate those kids, but those things generally come in and they find efficiencies and ways to save money and to do it cheaper too. I've done these in other districts, and invariably they come in and they find you ways to save money, at least the 2 times I've done it previously.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Forrest. Any other councilor with a question or a comment? Councilor Dirk.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to quickly go back to the class sizes. School year 24-25, we had 27 first graders in Webb Elementary School. I raised awareness. Nothing was done until March, April, when parents started sending massive emails. And then the following year, they fixed the class size. This year, we have the same issue at a different school. Do you have a plan where if we see that we have the problem in September, can we address it in October, November, maybe December, instead of waiting a whole year for kids to stay in that class before we fix the problem? Thank you.
Yeah, we always do. The time to address that is generally in June and July. Sometimes you just don't have the flexibility in the budget to be able to hire another teacher. We did address it this year. You know, as you know, I didn't have anything to do with the budget or setting up the sections for this year. We took a look at those numbers in July and August, and we made a decision we hired a couple of tutors for that section. So we actually provided a great deal of support to that section that you all and I and the Board of Ed received lots of emails on. And as it turns out, the kids in that grade level are doing great in their reading progress this year. Like our star reading numbers are showing that the kids made great progress this year. So we didn't hire teachers, so the classroom section stayed the same and it looked a little larger, but we did hire a couple of tutors that come into the classroom and help the teacher break the kids into smaller groups, and that's had some success. It's not perfect, but it's a mitigation strategy that we use kind of midstream. And to your point, if it happens again next year, that's a mitigation strategy that we kind of look at. You know, do you hire an extra teacher? You know, like hypothetically, if you have 2 sections of 27, you could hire a 3rd teacher, and now you're going to have 3 sections of 18. Now people are going to say, well, those are pretty small class sizes. That's not a really efficient way to do things. So 25, 27, you're kind of in that no man's land of you're going to either have a little bit too much or you're going to have a little bit too few. And you kind of look at some research-based strategies to kind of think about that. Like I said, I feel pretty confident this year that the kids had a good year in learning because of the way we hired the reading tutors that are helping out with that. So that's kind of like one type of mitigating strategy. You could hire a 3rd section, you could hire a tutor, or you could hire like a math teacher, you know, like just a full-time math teacher that could break that group into smaller groups and assist the teacher. But the efficiency there is now that person could also go help out with 6th grade as well. So you get a little bit more mileage out of that than going to 3 sections of 18, because now it's a little disequitable to the other grades, because then people are going to say, hey, you hired that extra teacher and now they only have 18, but my kid's in 6th grade and he still has 23, 24. That's not fair, you know, so you try to find a way that you're economically sound, but you're also improving the instructional outcomes for the kids.
Counselor Dirk, all set?
All set, thank you.
Any other? Seeing none, I'll say thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you for all the work that you and your team did to get to this point. I think I see one board member, Janice DeRoberts. Thank you to the board for all the work that you did. And now we will move on our agenda to our town manager, who will present the town's budget. Mr. Town Manager. And again, once he finishes, we'll have a brief few minutes for any council quick comments or questions, and then we will have a public hearing start with public questions and comments. So, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor Rhodes, members of the council. It is once again my honor to present to you this year's proposed budget for fiscal year 26 and 27. So like in past years, we're going to start off with just a review of our accomplishments this past year, some of the key milestones we've achieved. I will go through a community profile, proposed budget priorities, and then we'll dive into the budget after that point for an overview and provide you an overall summary. Just like to point out here, this is not a detailed presentation of the budget. That can be found in this book, okay? So if you want the details, this is available on our website. It's highly accessible. You can click through to the departments. We have a new budgeting system that allows a lot more ease of use for the public, and so we encourage you all to do that. There's also a budget feedback form that is also available on our website where you can go up and you can enter your feedback on the budget, because we do want to hear from you. So with that, it's been a busy year like past years. You know, I think it's really critical that we acknowledge the work that's been done over the past year and the accomplishments. Staff have been very busy. I know, you know, a lot of people like to focus on, you know, the slow pace of government and things never get done. But I've done this similar slide to this every year for the last, this is my 4th year now, and we get a lot done. It's, you know, you don't always see it. You don't always understand it, but it's here, and they're always in this presentation. So at the top of this list, I have the elementary school project coordination. That was a huge lift from the standpoint of even getting it to the referendum process. Once it was approved, staff has been working pretty much nonstop, getting everything in place to do the RFQs, RFPs for the architects, for the owner's project manager, and the construction manager. And we are well into that process. We've hired the architect. There's an item on the agenda tonight to hire the owner's project manager, and we have the construction manager interviews coming up in a week or so. So very busy time, but it takes a lot of work, and that's a huge achievement. Obviously, this is going to be a major project. Whether you voted for it or not, it's going to be the largest capital improvement project this town has probably ever seen with these 3 schools, and hopefully the other 2 after that. So big deal, and I think it's really important we recognize that. Speed and red light cameras, excuse me, we've been talking about this for a long time, and all the major installation is complete. We are just waiting for Eversource to turn them on. So that's basically where we're at right now. As soon as they are, then they'll put the cameras actually on the poles, but everything has been run. All the installation, the major installation piece is done. There'll be a brief testing phase, and they'll be live. So I spoke to Eversource last week, and they assured me they're prioritizing this, so I would expect in the next week or so we're going to have them turned on and be able to get them out there. So be careful, slow down. Silas, Deane, Berlin Turnpike, watch those red lights on the crossings. Sister City Agreement, new Sister City Agreement with Starigrad, Sarajevo, which I think was a really nice event and a great partnership that we now have with our new sister city. Pickleball courts. I know the mayor's already referred to this one, but this is one it's taken a lot of time. We had a few locations we had to move those things around on. We finally landed on one that worked, and that project has been bid, and we have a contract with the company that will be installing them. So that will happen this year. Our goal is to have them up by the end of the summer or at the latest early fall. Plans for the new bike path is going to go from the Putnam Bridge all the way into downtown Wethersfield. You know, these are huge deals. I mean, this is a major project. We have the funding in place. We have the grants in place. The design is being finalized, and then we'll be out to bid on that project. So people will be able to ride their bikes from Glastonbury over the bridge right into Old Wethersfield, all off-road. So these are really great projects that are going to improve the quality of life for our residents and visitors alike. We completed our Town Government History Project, which you see all the panels in the hallway here. Again, that was a partnership with the Historical Society, and Councilor Forrest had a large role in helping pull that one together. And you know, it's amazing to me, every day I walk out into the hallway, there's 2 or 3 people reading them. And they really appreciate it, and they're all learning something that they never knew. I learn something new every day just by looking at them. I'm not going to read through all of these, but you can just get a flavor for the types of things we've been working on and the projects that we continue to do on a regular basis. And again, I think it's important to focus on some of the achievements as well as some of the complaints we get. Community profile, we haven't changed much. Okay, our population is pretty much stagnant, right around that 27,000. We have increased a little bit, and we continue over the last few years. Our population has gone up a little bit. Unemployment rate, we are generally always right just below the state and the region, so that's a good thing for Wethersfield. Median household income continues to rise. This is a 2023 number. In a later slide, I have a 2024 number that we recently received. That number continues to rise. The average assessed value of homes, as many of you know, when we did the reval, has also risen. So we're at $220,000 for the average assessed value. And the average market value, this is off of Zillow, for February and March of this year, is $410,000. So, I mean, we haven't seen numbers like that before, and I think we're just seeing a continual trend. I think what that says is that Wethersfield continues to be a very attractive place for people to live and work and be. Now, with that comes increase in costs, increase in prices, and those are all things that we're going to have to deal with as we move forward. So, we talk about budget priorities. These are common ones that I give you each year, but first is to maintain a strong fund balance. So why is that important? It's basically our rainy day fund. We have a policy, a finance policy, that says we should maintain between 7 and 10% of a fund balance at all times, and that's to deal with any kind of emergencies that might pop up that we don't budget for. As proposed in this budget, that number is 10.7%. Now, generally, in the next phase of this process, the council can and has often chosen to take some of that proposed fund balance because it's outside of the range, it's above the range, to use it to help lower the mill rate, and that's something they can certainly consider, and I'm sure they will be considering. But it's important to keep a healthy fund balance because, as you all know, we're going to be going out to bond very soon for new schools, and fund balance is one of those things that the rating agencies look at. So our interest rate, this will help drive that interest rate lower for us if we can keep that number as healthy as possible. We want to adequately fund our contractual and anticipated market-driven increases. We want to maintain funding for our capital improvement and capital non-recurring expenditure funds, and at a minimum maintain. As proposed in this budget, we are keeping it level of what the council approved last year. It's too low. I'm going to be honest with you, I've said several times, this town has not properly funded capital over the years, which is one of the reasons why we're going out for multiple schools now. But this is a decades-long problem, and we're not going to solve it in one budget year. And this year in particular, I think given all the other stressors with the reval, the phase-in, the impact it has on our residents, I just did not think it was appropriate to put in additional funds for that. That's something the council can certainly consider, but we did not do that in the proposed budget here. And then ultimately, we want to continue to provide the level of services that our citizens deserve and have come to expect while limiting the overall increase in the budget. So what are some of the challenges we have here in Wethersfield? Some of these are going to be familiar to you too. Our average true growth, and by true growth, I'm talking about the grand list growth, taking out revaluation. So on any given year, we have about 1 to 2% on a good year of grand list growth. And that's if we have a nice big project in town. But generally, that 1% is about the most we're going to see. And why is that? Well, it's because we're built out for the most part. We're largely built out, and the overwhelming majority of our buildings are residential. So we don't have a lot of opportunity for commercial. The opportunities we do have are in redevelopments, like we're seeing over 341 Jordan Lane. That's about to start to take form. They've been tearing down the buildings, the old Mediplex, the old nursing home building. That's going to be completely leveled in the next few weeks, and then we're going to do a groundbreaking for the new apartments that are going to go there. That's a major development that will help that number. We need more of that, and that's what we're working on, trying to find more opportunities like that for redevelopments. But right now, we're very limited. Now, we did see a large grand list growth this budget year, 7.4%. That is from the reval. That is not from growth. That is phase 2 of the phase-in of the revaluation. So although that number is greatly increased, that means that certain members of our community which saw that increase, they're going to see that next tick up in terms of their value. So that's another reason why we want to keep this mill rate down as much as we can to limit the impact on those individuals. One of the other things we talk about is higher inflation and the other economic uncertainties. The superintendent referenced before, the price of oil. I think turn on the news, and depending on what certain people say, it'll go up, it'll go down, it's all over the place. But the reality is we've got to prepare for those types of things. I'm going to show you some numbers in a bit about electric rates, what we're anticipating, and some other drivers. So we have to prepare for that in this budget, and that's what we've tried to do. And then the last point I'll mention here in terms of challenges is our state funding this year from the governor's budget. We don't know what the final number is yet because the legislature hasn't finished their process. But from the governor's budget, we lose about $750,000 from the state this year. Most of that is on the vehicle side. They cap the vehicle mill rate, and based upon your grand list growth, there's a calculation that they do, and based upon that calculation and the way they're valuing cars now, we lose about $600,000 or so in that process this year. So that's a big hit for us. And then the education funding is also down. Again, that's another calculation that they do. And based upon that, we're losing about another 145 there. So these are big numbers that we're going to have to contend with, assuming the budget goes forward as it currently stands with the governor's budget. Do we anticipate that's the case? I hear a lot of talking up at the State House about them looking to try to get us more money, getting all the towns more money. We're hopeful that happens, and if it does, these numbers will come down for you all. So that's the goal, but for right now, we have to go with what we're given, and that's the governor's budget. I mentioned before, I'm going to turn this around so the speakers can see how much time they have later. I mentioned before about some of the budget drivers. Electricity costs, we're expecting to increase by about 9%. That's based upon our conversations with Eversource. Retiree medical is up about 9.4%. Salaries and wages up about 4.1%. Health insurance costs, 9.7%, and that's after we've done the work to change our RX. We went through a negotiation because the number was so high. It was at 13.5, I believe. And we said we've got to do better than that. And so we went out and got pricing for RX, and that's on the agenda for approval tonight. That'll drop us down to this lower number, which will save us money in this budget. And then defined contribution and pension is up as well. When we look at the revenue, again, that big blue area there, you might not be able to see the text there, but that's your taxes. So of our revenue, 84% of all of our revenue comes from local taxes. That's a huge number. It's not a sustainable number, I'll tell you. And that's why we've also been working with the legislature to come up with other ways that the state has to start looking at diversifying the money that comes back to the towns. Some of the things we're talking about is the Mohegan Fund, which was originally supposed to come to the towns. The town used to see about $300,000 a year from that. When the state was in their dire straits with their budget, they took it all away from the towns. And the towns understood it at that point, but now they're pretty healthy over there now, and we're not. I think it's time to give it back. So there's a lot of talk up at the legislature to bring that back to us, as well as other ways to get money from commercial growth. So to say that if we bring in a company or somebody expands, that we can get a percentage of that new growth, tax revenue, to come to the local levels as opposed to going right to the state. So those are both things that we're pushing hard at the legislature, and hopefully we'll get there. Education, grants, and other state funds only accounts for about 13% of all of our funding, and then we have various license and fees and things like that. So again, the vast majority of the money that we use to run this town on a day-to-day basis is your tax dollars. And our goal is to make that a smaller percentage every year. Unfortunately, with the reval, it went in the wrong direction. We were actually starting to take a bite out of it and starting to do better with that, but the reval kind of shifted it back. So we've got to work hard to get it back to where we want it to be. In terms of where the money goes, education, straight budget, this is using the number that the Board of Ed approved. That would represent 52.5% of this entire budget. That does not include the other services that the town provides as direct support to the Board of Education, custodial services, a lot of the utilities and things of that nature that we provide on a regular basis come directly out of our budgets. So if we actually have to keep track of all those and report them to the state. So if we include those, that number, that 52% number, is actually about 61% of the total budget of expenditures goes for education. And that's followed by public works, public safety, and then general government. And that's where you're going to find the big chunk of that other services number. Library, I have to say it because Brooke's here, and I know she wants to hear this, 1.4% is of the total budget goes to the library. Best deal in town, right, Brooke?
Book's order.
So by the numbers, this budget represents a total expenditure increase of 4.13%, and that's the town proposed increase of 3.75, and the Board of Ed's proposed increase of 4.48. It includes flat funding for CIP, CNEF, the unassigned fund balance of 10.7%. Debt service is going to be decreasing by about $140,000, and now we'll be at about 2.6%, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's a very low number, and that's a good place to be right now going in to a new bond referendum coming up very soon. We're in actually a very healthy place. When we go out to the rating agencies, they'll see that. That's another one of those factors they look at. What is your percentage? That is actually, if we weren't going out for bond, they'd actually look at that as a negative being so low, because it means we're not taking care of our future. Most towns, that's usually like between 5 and 10% is the number that you generally see for bond indebtedness, but ours has been right around 2 to 3% since I've been here. One mill is worth about $2.8 million, excluding the vehicle tax, as proposed, and the proposed budget has a mill rate of 41.05, and that's a decrease of about 0.17 mils, and the vehicle rate, again, is capped at the 32.46. Again, about the mill rate, I show this graph every year. We just carry it out another year. This shows household income, and then the mill rate is on the scale is on the right-hand side of what you're looking at there. So, as we got to the reval, coming up to the revaluation, our mill rate was growing pretty steadily. We had the revaluation, and that new value in the grand list drops the mill rate. Now, it didn't drop it as far as we originally proposed last year because the council phased it in. I think the original proposed was like 32 or something around that. It was going to drop it a lot. But by phasing it in, it slows that drop. And then now we have to contend with the increases over the year to year. But again, it's going in the right direction. It will likely continue to go in that direction, and that's what we want to see. But it still should be lower, and that's our job, is to try to work to get it lower. And then I mentioned the other services we provide to the Board of Ed. This is just kind of a breakdown of that. So if we look at the amount of money that we spend for services, like custodial services, some of the other things, that's about $8 million on its own. And then if you combine that with the current debt, and that's basically the high school project, you're looking at about $12 million, and that's for the fiscal year 24-25. We're always behind with this process because it's the state reporting, but that's the number that we use in the budget. and that's a number that gets reported back up to the state. And then again, bonded debt service, it's dropped every year for several years now, and we'll start to see that number tick up again, right, when we start borrowing for the new school. Right now, our timing, we're looking to hold off with this budget as long as we can on bonding for the Highcrest project, because we can float some of the early work of the architect and things like that through our general fund, and then we'll bond it probably closer to the end of the fiscal year into next year, the first tranche of that, and we're going to do it slowly, so it's not going to be all one big piece, so we're going to space it out as long as we can to minimize the impact. So we're not going to borrow everything up front, because that would be a huge impact, and we don't need the money right away. So we're timing it based upon working with our contractors, with the architect, with the owner's rep, and with the construction manager, saying, when do we need the money, and when's the time we have to borrow, and we'll time out the bonding based upon that. And again, that's to reduce the impact over time to you all. And then the superintendent talked about this a little bit. He talked about in terms of the DIRG, but what I did is I looked at the communities around us, so Glastonbury, West Hartford, South Windsor, Windsor, Berlin, Plainville, and Rocky Hill. And if you look at the chart on the left, that is town proposed budgets for all of those towns. That's what their town managers presented. We are the second lowest of any on the town government side. Glastonbury was just a little bit below us on that. And on the school side, we are the lowest, and some by far, of those towns. So the point is mentioning this is that they're all dealing with the same stressors we are. And we're all, trying to do the best we can. But I think our team has done a good job at trying to keep this as low as reasonable, and that again is without cutting services. I didn't cut any positions, but I also didn't add positions in this budget. There's one position where we've asked for a part-time position to go to a full-time, and that is a position in the building office, and that's because we have some big project coming, and we have basically 2.5 inspector positions in that office. We have not had much luck hiring for the assistant building official position, and neither is anyone else in the state. It's a position of need for many towns. So what we've done is we've downgraded that position to an apprentice position, where we'll bring somebody on that might not have all the certifications yet, but's willing to go and get them. We will bring them in at a lower rate. We'll train them, we'll get them certified, and then we'll gradually increase them as their skills increase. In the meantime, we need to take the part-time position that was approved by this council last year, move it to full-time, because we have a very large project with 341 Jordan Lane coming on that's going to require a lot of inspections, and then we have Highcrest School right on its heels, and right on the heels of that one is Webb. So we're going to need a lot more work in that office for the foreseeable future. So I think this is a critical position. But again, just with the fees alone, we'll be able to cover that increase in cost. So it's not going to be a budget hit, because I think just for the first project alone, it's going to more than cover the cost of what I'm talking about here. And that's all I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. And before we open to the public, we're going to open it up in a second to council. Quick questions and comments. Again, we will have a review of every different department for us to ask detailed questions. Also want to thank Alana. I think you've broken the record for Kid Mayor staying the longest. You're not required to stay here. Most of them leave after. But I hope you're getting a good crash course in how local government works. But yeah, I think you've stayed the longest of any, so we appreciate you being here. But it's not required to stay. And Brian's family also, you're setting a good record. So hope to see you at every meeting. Hope to see you at every meeting.
Brian's going, if I have to suffer, no.
So,
Still going to stick around, Brian?
Councilors, folks, in a few minutes, we're going to open up the public hearing. But councilors, if you have a quick question or comment for the town manager, we'll entertain that, and then we'll open the public hearing. Councilor Wands.
Mr. Town Manager, frankly, I want to first thank you for the great work you and your staff did to present the budget and to present the presentation. It's much appreciated by us all. I just have one quick question for today. You mentioned the speed and red light cameras earlier. Is the new expected revenue from them built into the budget? And I'm still trying to get my grips on it all here. Where should I look for that in the expectations, if it is?
So we've included a small amount. I think, Mike, was about $300,000 of expected revenue that will go towards the additional cost of the new radio system, because that's an eligible expense. That's a conservative number based upon the other towns that have activated these. We expect that number to be much higher, but given that we haven't done it yet, we didn't feel it was prudent to go much more than that. I think we feel pretty confident that this is a number we can deal with, and then later on, if it's a lot more, we can come back to you all and say, there's other things we can do, but we just didn't feel it was appropriate to do that at this time.
In which part, and we can talk about this maybe in the workshop, so which part of the budget does that end up in? It's not in fines and forfeitures, that's pretty low. Where does that end up in?
In terms of the revenue?
In terms of
I think
revenue.
it's just listed as an offset, but I think Mike will be able to speak to that in more detail if you need to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wands. Any further council comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Appreciate all the effort that went into you and your team. And now we are going to open the public hearing. And just some rules of the road. You have 10 minutes to speak. We usually allot for 5 minutes, but for a public hearing on the budget, we allow 10, and you're allowed to go a second time as well at the same length of time. I'm not going to read the entire thing I read every night, but I'm going to make a few, ask you to please remain respectful, to address the council and not the audience, and please refrain from addressing any council member specifically. And this public hearing is only on the budget, so you're not coming up here to talk about other things in town. It's on the budget, board budget, the council, town budget. And again, you have 10 minutes, and I actually have an order. I have cards that I think you filled out your name. If you didn't, you're still able to speak, but I'm going to call the ones on the cards first. So, and I have, yeah, I have probably 8 or 9. I know there's more than that. So I'm going to call on Paul, and if I pronounce your last name, Milne, first. So Paul, you're up, and please, for the record, your name and address, even though I have it on the card. Your name and address, Paul, for the record, and you have 10 minutes.
Hi, Paul Milne, 52 Livingston Street, Wethersfield. The telemarketers malign me all the time now. Dr. Bill Haynes used to start with a joke at all his board meetings when I met him. I'm here, I'm looking at it from the view from 30,000 feet. I'm not here to talk about any specific item or budget assessment, but from 30,000 feet, I'm worried about a huge increase in my tax liability because of the reevaluation. Now, I understand somewhat a rudimentary basis of that it's the revenue over the budget, gives you a mill rate. But my assessment, I feel I have an average, ordinary house in town. My assessment went from, round numbers, from 140 to 170. That's a 22% increase, maybe 23. So when this started happening, when people were getting their assessments, I started seeing on Facebook, they're worried, my assessment's gone up 20-30%, my taxes have gone up 20-30%. My understanding is it's a fairness thing. It gets divided up, and the mill rate should come down to account for that. So I'm looking at, we were, in the presentation, we were talking about the mill rate by fiscal year going up and up and up and up, but I'm looking in the book here, and it's always around 40, 41, 42, 43. In order for my taxes not to go up 23%, the mill rate would have to be somewhere around 35. But it's proposed, it says, and the budget only went up 4.13%. So, for view from 30,000 feet, I'm concerned what's going to happen. I mean, as I looked at these numbers ahead of time, was thinking about it, and I realized I did get a letter about a phase-in. I'm only going to tax on a portion of it for a certain amount of time. But to me, that still is I don't know, it's confusing and not understandable, which is another word saying it's not transparent to me. So if we're not taking the money this year, if somehow we're putting it off, how can we do that? Is there some magic place where the money is? I mean, I'm just confused by that, because going up, the assessment going up, and there's nothing special. It's a lot of money. The grand list went up 7.84%, so I expect that to be helpful. But you know, that's really all I got. The view from 30,000 feet. I mean, I assume it's all lost in the weeds somewhere, but that doesn't help me. And if I get a tax bill that's going to be, you know, I'm looking at, you know, $600-700 a year, all of a sudden it's $800-900. And that's just a phase in, and eventually it's going to go up 23%. Is that what we're saying here? It's going to, after the phase in is complete? And where's the magic in all that? I don't get it. But that's what I just wanted to say, you know, something to think about. We're all in this together, and if our houses went up that much and the mill rate stays the same, then the proposed mill rate is 41. It's gone down from 41.22 to 41.05. So that's not a drop that I was expecting. And I was kind of, when people were panicking, and I was saying, oh, I know about this. It's going to be a division thing. It's going to be fine. And all of a sudden, the mill rate's 41. Like, what happened? Okay, that's enough out of me. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Paul. And just as a reminder, we don't get in a back and forth dialogue here, but we can, if you want to leave your name, we can provide, or if you want to follow up, the town manager can follow up with you. But thank you, Paul.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next on the list, I have, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, is it Mebley?
Melody.
Melody, I'm sorry, Melody, I don't see I saw that as a B. Melody. I should have got that right. My apologies, that looked like a B.
No, you're good. I'm better with typing. I can't
My
write.
apologies. Melody, name and address for the record.
Melody Volkenpani, 59 Toller Terrace. Hello, I'm Melody. You can use they, her pronouns when referring to me. I am here to speak in support of the library's budget ask of $1.9 million, which is also, I guess, less than 2% of the budget. The public library is an invaluable place for the community that anyone, regardless of age, can make use of. With continued funding, the library can continue its goals of satisfying curiosity and stimulating the imagination, supporting young readers and their families, celebrating diversity, keeping the community informed, and creating a comfortable place to visit. A few ways that the library satisfies one's curiosity and stimulates the imagination is with the collection it offers to the community. From astronomy, gardening, music, sports, mystery, biographies, the list goes on. There are so many different topics offered, whether it be nonfiction or fiction. The desire to read can be seen by the 245,000 books checked out from fiscal year 24-25. The focus on fostering a place for young readers to develop and enhance literacy skills can be seen through the program offered to the youth. From 1,000 books before kindergarten to the winter reading program Book Bingo, the library can make reading both enjoyable and a beneficial place to develop literacy skills. The library also offers various resources and tools to the community to explore discover the diversity and history of their own community, as well as the world at large. In April of last year, the library staff attended the Wethersfield Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Community Fair to share information and resources offered at the library. Each month, the library puts up a new display with a small collection of materials celebrating diversity. Some displays are for Black History Month, Women's History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, and Pride Month. It will be my hope that the library will offer out even more programs and events to highlight the diverse voices and viewpoints of our community, like what was done with the Human Library event back in March 2025. Beyond offering books, the library also continues to engage with the local community. If you went to Cornfest last year, you may have seen the library booth there handing out books. Library staff also conducted outreach visits to children at local preschools. The library also reinvented the Food for Fines program with a food drive, which brought in over 738 food items, as well as $115 in gift cards for the Wethersfield Food Pantry. The Mid-Entry Initiative in December 2025 collected 191 warm items such as hats, gloves, scarves, and blankets, which were donated to youth and senior services. The wonderful thing about the library is that it's open to everyone. 98,975 patrons visited the library from 24 to 25. If you need a quiet space to read or work, or need a reserved room for a meeting, the library may be the first place that comes to mind. The upcoming renovation project this summer will build off of creating a welcoming and comfortable place to be in. So thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I hope the library will receive the $1.9 million in funding to continue all the work that the library does for the community.
Thank you, Melody. Our next speaker, and I'm going to guess it's about the library too, Polly Moon.
Polly Moon, 23 Orchard Brook Drive. Geez, not much more I can say. Great. Mr. Mayor, Madam Deputy Mayor, council members, and Mr. Town Manager. I just, first of all, I want to welcome Mr. DiCiaccio, and thank you all for your hard work and your continued work that's going to happen. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Wethersfield Library. And I wanted to commend, first of all, Brooke Berry, the library director, and this library board and her staff for all the work that they put into this budget. I always knew that the library's budget was less than 2%. To hear that it's 1.4% of the town budget is really a surprise. Has always been a lower amount, so there should be no question as far as the acceptance of that budget. I wanted to let you know, though, that a lot of the reason why the staff and the library staff and board and the director have been able to, through their diligence and their continued hard work, have been able to keep their operating budget at the rate that they have, has been due to a lot of the support from the Friends. We've spent many years fundraising, which we have continued to do through some of our efforts, through book sales, puzzle sales, raffles. We plan to do a mini golf tournament next year when the library is finished, and we do fundraisers at Puerto Vallarta, which is a popular spot for many people to do them. We've also been able to fund, based on our fundraising, we've been able to fund some programs that are outside of the library's operating budget. For the year 24 to 25, we were able to fund some museum passes to the tune of about $4,500, baby bundles to the tune of $2,900. We've funded the summer reading program that year for $12,000, which included children and adult reading program. This year to date, we've sponsored the Library Speakers Consortium to the tune of $3,500, a summer reading program for around $9,000. We've also participated in helping with normally when there's been a large amount of book weeding, which has been happening this year as the library staff prepares for the redesign this year. There a lot of the books in the past have had to be discarded if they haven't been used in a while or if they're not up to date. We have helped to keep a lot of those books from being discarded by selling some of the ones that were still in good shape, or of donating them to other nonprofits or to veterans, church groups, other friends organizations and such. So this is just an idea to let you know that our friends group is still very active. We continue to support the library as much as we can, and to keep funding so that we can keep their expenses lower, so that they can, if they're coming back to you, keep their costs as low as they can. This library has always prided themselves on being able to say they're able to serve citizens from birth up until whatever age, whatever they need. They're changing needs and whatever they can, and they're changing tastes over the years. So I thank you for your attention. Please support the library at their 1.4% of your budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Polly. And Polly, make sure you invite Counselor Weiner to your mini golf fundraiser. He's our most avid golfer on the council. I mean, you can invite all of us. But
we're looking for the Dad's Club.
But thank you, Polly. Our next speaker, and I think this may be on the library as well, Kristen Michaels is our next speaker. Kristen?
I was not expecting to come up this soon. I have 11. So I guess I'm going to be Fred. I'm Kristen Michaels, 303 Garden Street. I'm here primarily representing the library board, as I am the chair, but I also want to thank the counselors who spoke about the class size issue at Hamner, because I'm also a parent of the class that has been reaching out to you. And it is, the kids are struggling across the board. I just want to say, even if not academically, socially and emotionally. So I do think the class size is something that we have to stay on top of, even beyond this budget session. It seems to keep creeping up. I don't know if it's at other schools or just Hamner, but class size is something that parents research, when they look for a town to move to with their families. So it is important to stay on top of this, I think, and I thank you for your concern about that. But on to the library. I would like to respectfully ask the council to adopt the library budget as presented. This budget proposes a 12% decrease from the current year's adopted budget, and while removing the healthcare costs represents the bulk of this decrease, it should be noted that non-personnel line items are budgeted at only a 1% increase. This is the bare minimum to ensure that the library can continue to maintain the level of programs and services that our residents enjoy. As you know, we are about to begin a redesign project, which is funded by DECD grant money, which we hope to complete at the end of this year. It would be a shame to have to cut back on programs and services after unveiling our exciting upgrades to the facility and the library environment. And in fact, we hope to be able to expand on programs and services after that point. I can assure you the Wethersfield's tax dollars are well invested in the library this year more than ever. Thank you, and happy Library Appreciation Week.
Thank you, Kristen. Our next speaker is Bob Woodward. Bob? I hope you're happy with the #1 draft pick being a UConn lady, Hazy Fudd.
Well, before I start the clock running, Thursday, July 2nd at People's Bank Arena, the Connecticut Sun will host the Dallas Wings with Paige and Azee. I don't know where you get tickets for that, but there's an opportunity. So
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. My name is Bob Woodward. I live at 456 Middletown Avenue. There are a lot of frightening numbers in this budget. One is the $19,000+ per student. My total pension income is less than $19,000 per year. That makes that a frightening number. The 4.13 increase is a frightening number, because as a Social Security recipient, I received a 2.8% increase. And actually, I think the net to me was a little less than 2.8 because of Medicare and some taxes that are federal taxes being withheld. My pension went up 1.5%. I would like to see an increase of 2.2, 2.3, somewhere in there. Big difference from 4.13. But I agree with the first speaker. The mill rate, it would be nice to bring the mill rate down further than 41.05, very definitely. A few years ago, we had someone who mowed our lawn. We haven't had him for a while, but every year in the spring he would send us something in the mail saying, because of increased costs to me, I'm passing it on to you and my other clients. We don't have anywhere to pass on increased costs. We're retired, and some days it feels like we're at the bottom of the pile. Where do we pass on the cost to? Sue came home from grocery shopping a week or two ago and said, well, that's the last piece of such and such we're going to get. It's up to $12 a pound. Groceries, health insurance, gas, home heating oil, those electricity, they all impact us. They all take out of our income. And we need them to survive. So these are major impacts to us when you talk 4.13. It may seem a nice number to you, but it's kind of a frightening number to us, and we have nowhere to pass it off. Anything we do is as a volunteer, and we can't charge for volunteering. So we manage our budget as best we can. The school budget in particular is frightening to us because we have never had kids. We've never put a burden on the system nor gotten a benefit. And yet after 47 years, we're still paying for a school system that has never benefited us. The library is a place that I can go. It's open, it's welcoming. If I went out and was walking in a neighborhood and went by the school system, school, and needed a restroom, I couldn't go into that school even though I pay for the school. The library is there, it's welcoming. I used to come up and read the paper there a lot till I started getting the paper. I can't say the same about the schools in this town because we've never had a relationship with them. I hope you will realize that there is a sizable gap in income in this town. People who are above the median, but people who are below the median. That's why the median is a median. I looked at our income tax before we sent it in, and I said, well, we're still below the median, and we will be next year because I'm pretty sure our income is going down next year. There are other people who could say the same thing. So please remember, this town has a mixture of people, a variety of incomes. Respect that, please. Respect where we are. I know most of you are in the same place, but it would help to get this mill rate down and the budget increase down less than what we've got out there right now. So, thank you for listening. I could take the last 5 minutes and Ken and I could talk basketball, but I don't think you need that at this point. But please, over the next weeks, take this seriously, that and I appreciated Mr. Presley keeping the no hires down. A neighbor last year said, why are we hiring more people? And I appreciate that very much. It says something to us. So, one other thing, and then I'll quit. This Thursday night, and it has to do with the budget because Mr. Presley mentioned the Millwoods Park Master Plan. There is a meeting on the Millwoods Park Master Plan. They were out here handing out literature. We spent a lot of time on that. We did a lot of work to get a referendum. I'm going to make sure that people are happy with that plan. And if they're not, I will speak up, because people worked hard to save that park and to get it to be something that was there for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Our next speaker is Bob Young. Mr. Young?
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. First, I'd like to mention that I've gone through your budget book. You mentioned in your budget introduction that this is a budget that delivers many existing services that our citizens and residents expect and deserve. I expect the town of Wethersfield to operate in an honest manner. I don't need benefits. I have problems with this town for them to produce information under freedom of information. They can't deliver. And when they do, it's portion of it. I also believe that they discriminate against a lot of people in this town on how they spend money. You know, we have senior citizens who get very little benefits out of the tax money, and all the money goes to the schools. Or most of the money goes to the school system. And it's being supported by all the rest of us who get very little. And that's because of our town councils. That's because of our boards of education. Money's no object because they don't care. Don't care in the least. And here we are with failing infrastructure, such as our roads that haven't been taken care of. You cater to the parks and recreation people, and what do the seniors get? What do the people in the middle class get? Not a hell of a lot. And this is how the town has been running. So, you know, a 4.13% increase is a hefty increase. The fact that the Board of Education wants 4.48% and the town wants 3.75%, we're in big trouble. Wethersfield is definitely unaffordable for a lot of people. And this council, the prior councils, the volunteers who put together a package to renovate schools at the tune of $130 million, not 80 million or 88 million that they were saying. It's 130 million with the interest. And nobody up here spoke about that. But when it comes time for budgeting and coming up with a tax, there's no problem in doing that. Now, tonight the Board of Education was here again, the superintendent. I didn't hear him talk about the 23% of his students that were under the line of progressing. I know somebody tried to bring up that subject, but he did not. He totally avoided that subject, the 23%, and how he needs to hire another so many more people. He doesn't need to hire anybody. And what he has been doing is he's got the 23% that are failing in his school system that he was talking about at the last meeting. And he will keep those teachers on who have failed those students and then bring on more. It's all about keep bringing on more people and backtracking or supporting those who can't do the job. And I think the town of Wethersfield has a lot of employees that can't do the job. And we should be looking at reducing in this budget headcount. Headcount is a very, very quick way of bringing down the budget. It affects so many different areas, not just salaries. It affects the tax issues. It affects the health care, all the different benefits that they get from the town. It reduces. And that would benefit the town of Wethersfield to reduce our head count and reduce our head count at the Board of Education. Both areas need to be slimmed back. So, here I am. I've gone through, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Is his name Paul that was up here earlier? I had put together an analysis of what my tax bills were going to be for the next 25 years. I sent that to every one of you. Asked you for comment if my analysis was correct. Not you, Mr. Penelo. You weren't here at the time. But the fact remains. Nobody commented except for Mr. Durick. And then he didn't answer my question. He avoided it. My question that I wanted to know was my analysis correct? And I still don't know the answer from you folks, but as far as I can tell, it is totally correct. Because if you didn't answer it, it's correct in my book. But here it goes, and Paul can listen to this. My property taxes are roughly $9,700 a year. When we add in what I got charged with for the revaluation, my tax bill started going up to $10,000. The next year it's going to be another $10,008. The following year it's going to be $11,500. And it's going to keep ramping up, and as the referendum charges, assessments come in, that's going to play another effect. There'll be the annual increase that we get, and this year you're looking at an annual increase of 4.14%, plus then once the assessment for the school system kicks in, that'll be that as well. And you're looking at $1,000 every year going down, increasing by $1,000. And Paul has every right to be concerned about this, because everybody's taxes are going to, well, most people's taxes are going to go up. As we know, Mayor, you only got hit with $6 extra. I got hit with over 500. And you live in a mansion, and I live in just a plain old house. So anyway, what I'd like to do now is move on. And I've looked at the budget. I've gone through line items, and what I have is on page Town Council, page 42 of the budget. You have in there, I got to get to it, Town Council, number 111. You this year, under the header of public service contributions, last year you had $50,000 that you put into the budget to be spent for public event support. And this year it's $60,000. So you went up $10,000 in your budget. And we don't even know where that money went. Those people who got that $50,000 in this current year, we don't even know who they are. But they got the 50 grand from the town council budget. And next year, you're going to have 60,000, because the manager won't take that out, and the mayor isn't going to let that go out either. But that should be taken out. That's an unfair charge to the citizens. If I wanted to give money to a nonprofit or some organization down in town, that's my business. And if I don't, that's my business. But for the town to take tax money to give to some organization, that's everybody's business. And that's not right. It's the same idea as we have the Kinney Center. We only get $100 a year for that whole big building. And we spend lots of money every year out of our budget. And that event happened in the dark of night with our town council back in 2007, 2008. And we are today paying for that, and we'll pay for 50 years. It's a 50-year lease. And we're going to pay on that building. Oh, Mr. Forrest, he voted for that back then. And now he's the godfather of the Wethersfield Historic Society. and they kiss his hand when he goes down there with all the money that he ends up pushing over to them. And it comes out of our pocket. Thank you, Mr. Forrest. You did a tremendous job in hurting the citizens of Wethersfield. Next, I'd like to go to page 59, information systems. Oh yes, it appears this year in the budget. The line item for health benefits has been taken out of every budget, every department going forward, because
Thank you, Mr. Young.
it's all-
Your time is up. Thank you, Mr. Young.
don't I get 10 minutes 3 times?
You got 10 minutes, and you do have
3
another.
times.
You get another time, but we get everyone else to get their chance first, and then when they get a
I'll be
chance,
back.
you can come for your second
I
time.
got a whole mess of things to talk about.
Thank you, Mr. Young. So thank you, Mr. Young. I have Crystal next.
Hello, Crystal Cocola, 62 Kimberly Lane. I will be very brief. I'm just here tonight to express my support for the superintendent's budget, especially the addition of paraprofessionals and elementary school reading specialists. As a parent, I've seen firsthand how much early support matters. My own child has struggled, and I know how quickly small gaps can grow when kids don't get the help they need right away. But I've also seen how the right support at the right time can make a real difference, not just academically, but in confidence and overall well-being. I also want to acknowledge that this is a very lean budget. Most of the increases are contractual and not discretionary, which makes these targeted investments even more thoughtful and important. My understanding is that cutting these support specialists only reduces the school budget by about 0.5%, but it reduces the need for more intensive and costly services later on. This is about giving kids the foundation that they need to succeed, and I strongly believe that's the right investment for our students and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Our next speaker is Cindy Jacobs. Cindy?
Good evening. I'm Cindy Jacobs, 71 Sunrise Terrace. Thank you to the town manager and superintendent and their staff for developing this budget in a very challenging budget year. And to the town council and board of ed for the many hours you will be spending to analyze the budget and find the best way forward for taxpayers and residents and students in this town. Truly excellent town leadership manages big and little things. Big projects, grade school strategic plan and the referendum, and economic development. These projects are showing the effect of hard work to improve the education of our students, redevelop our existing properties, and improve our tax base. Thank you for the leadership and expertise in these areas. Also, our town has garnered external funds in the millions for the maintenance and extension of our sidewalks and trails to improve the multimodal transportation in our town to make pedestrians safer, as pointed out by our town manager. Efforts on sidewalk improvements are particularly noticeable in the last few years. Thanks to Derek Greger and the engineering department for these efforts. I am in basic support for the town and the education proposed budget. I'm here to talk about a little thing, an ongoing, quotidian, sometimes overlooked effort, preventive road maintenance. Suburban car-based towns have expensive infrastructure. Wethersfield has 107 miles of town roads to maintain. I take walks in town on almost a daily basis, and I notice the condition of our roads. While canvassing in support of the school renovations, I walked in neighborhoods all over town. While on foot, I have engaged in some casual empiricism and observations of our town roads. Many of our residential roads are in mediocre or unsatisfactory condition. Also, it seems that early preventive maintenance, i.e. sealing cracks in roads and in public parking lots in the very early years after paving, is rarely done. After several years, even newly paved asphalt starts to crack, and these cracks extend and multiply with the freezing and thawing of the pavement over the years, such as New England and our weather and our climate. Eventually, the cracks become potholes, which are then addressed in the spring. I do see crack sealing work on streets, but these appear to be many years after repaving alongside pothole repair. Examples of this can be seen on Farmingdale Road, Wells Farm Drive, and on parts of Ridge Road. My road, Sunrise Terrace, was resurfaced within the last 5 years. Cracks are present, but are unaddressed. In the past, I have provided public comments to the town that the high school parking lot, which was resurfaced almost 10 years ago, needs to have asphalt cracks sealed. These are still unaddressed. They will get larger, they'll split the asphalt into smaller pieces, and they'll become potholes, and expensive repairs and resurfacing will be necessary. I have tried to educate myself on this matter by doing some quick online research on road maintenance and its associated cost savings. Crack sealing, in the form of hot rubberized crack fillers, is a stitch-in-time, saves-9 type of early preventive maintenance by reaching the base of the road and thereby stopping water intrusion to delay or prevent potholes and road degradation. Crack sealing can extend the life of an asphalt road by 3 to 5 years. Roads should be inspected annually before winter. High-traffic roads should be sealed 1 to 3 years, moderate or low every 3 to 5 years. Crack sealing appears to be more cost-effective than fog sealing, which is, I think, an overall seal. The town of Cheshire in 2021 posted a report. In their report, the rave pavement of projects totaling 5 miles was $1.1 million, or $222,000 a mile. Crack sealing was $1,000 a mile. I could report more of my quick research, but it indicates that early maintenance of asphalt cracks is pennies on the dollar versus pothole repair and road resurfacing. The town needs to transition to early preventive maintenance, hot rubberized crack filling or some sort similar technology in advance of pothole filling and resurfacing. Every year, budgets are tight, we realize, but start somewhere to make this transition to earlier long-term cost-effective road maintenance in the composition of the road maintenance budget. My recommendations are: 1, in this budget year, address filling the cracks in the parking lots of our schools and public buildings. They are the face of our community, and they demonstrate our attention to the town infrastructure. Adjust or rebalance the current budget infrastructure to fund these early maintenance projects, such as crack filling. So I'm not asking for more money, but please relook at that budget and start the transition toward earlier maintenance. In this budget year, the engineering department should do the research on the ROI of early preventive maintenance, crack filling versus pothole filling and other maintenance technologies. The town should develop an infrastructure plan that puts Wethersfield public parking lots and its 107 miles of town road on a path to early preventive maintenance and crack repair. The town should select a number of miles, 10 miles a year, 20 miles a year, and develop a multi-year budget analysis to address the early road maintenance and repair. This will eventually reduce our road infrastructure costs over time by delaying large, more expensive road improvement and resurfacing projects. If it has not done so, the town could add crack filling to its quick fix online app program and receive feedback from residents before potholes develop. And number 4, if it has not been done already, the town should recognize the public works staff who do these road repairs in all kinds of weather. We recognize our teachers and public safety workers, and I think our public works staff should be recognized as well. I do believe addressing maintenance early on connects with all types of voters and residents, those who want to minimize taxes, those who want good value for their tax dollars spent, and those who want a high quality of public amenities in our town. I believe that maintaining its roads and public infrastructure has a reciprocal effect on homeowners' view of their town and maintaining their own property in their neighborhood. I'll close with a point that I raised at the outset of my comments. Truly excellent town leadership manages big and little projects and little things well. I believe the town can achieve a higher standard of excellence in preventive road maintenance. This small, ongoing, consistent early maintenance effort will pay dividends over time by improving the quality of life, pedestrian safety, and car safety, and attractiveness of our community, and cost effectiveness of our public dollars spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. So that is all of the cards. That's those of you that signed up. What I'm going to do now is ask if you didn't sign up and you want to speak to raise your hand. And then after everyone has gotten a chance to speak that wants to speak, I will then welcome people to speak for their second time. So does anybody who didn't sign up wish to come and speak now? Tom. It's the only one I saw, Tom.
Good evening, Tom Mazzarella, 600 Walcott Hill Road. I really like the first speaker. I want to give the, 29,000 foot review, if you will. The word unsustainable was in the town manager's presentation. That's been spoken in this chamber at least since 2015. I think it was Councilor Spinella. He asked the question, to the town manager at the time. I think that was like 3 town managers ago. And, is this path of taxpayers funding this high percentage of town government or town expenses, is it sustainable? And the answer is no, it's unsustainable. And the 1 to 2% grand list growth doesn't cover the 3.5 or 4% operating budget. It's very simple math. And you can't keep going on. And yeah, this can be a lean budget. We heard that last year. I didn't quite agree with last year's budget being very lean because of the increases in staff and position changes that raise salaries, which then turns into contractual obligations that boost the base up every year. The only way I think we can minimize it is to come in with a truly lean budget where you're just going to keep the key services going. And kudos to the town manager. He's done an amazing job of moving projects forward at a very fast pace when Wethersfield, quite frankly, wasn't used to that because it was always at a snail's pace. Part of that was, I think, the conservative nature of the town citizens. They don't want their taxes to go up. So what do? You reduce the spending or keep it flat and hope that 1 to 2% grand list keeps up with everything else. The other thing you have to look at is some of these grand list improvements, such as the Jordan Lane project. They have tax abatements. The Borden had tax abatements. 275 Ridge Road had tax abatements. So it's like, oh, we got this great, huge project going. We're going to get all kinds of revenue. So let's go out and buy some stuff because we got all this money coming in. Oh, wait, it's not coming in for 7 years. So you have to put all that in perspective, I think. Seems like it's all the guys with gray hair coming up here suggesting that you don't increase spending, but maybe that's the reality of where a large portion of this town is in that time of their life where, their kids have gone on and their income is fixed and they have to make do. So when they see a lot of bright, new, shiny things happening, they don't agree with that. So I'd ask everybody to really try and sharpen their pencil. 2.2 or 2.3 is near impossible to get to, but it can be done. You have to look at what's the priorities, and you may have to slow down some of the projects. And, you know, you guys have done a great job with getting grant money, but you also have to look at, you know, when a project's funded by the grants, a road or reconstruction or a trail or whatever, you know, down the road, that project's going to need to be refurbished. You know, the tennis courts, I was surprised at the Stillman courts. We did that the first year I was on the council, I think 7 years ago, for $40,000 or something like that price. We thought that was a lot of money, and here we are 5, 6, 7 years later, and we're doing the same courts again. So you're going to have to look at either reducing services or maybe you have to start charging for some services. Maybe you want to put the lights on at night for the tennis courts, you got to put some quarters in the machine. I don't know, we have to rethink it. And, you know, the state's not helping us out. You know, it's not just our community, it's every community in town, in our state rather. Everybody's struggling with the tax base. We're, I think, in a worse position because of the shortage of land. But my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else who has not spoken yet who would like to speak? No. So at this point in the public hearing, I'll remind the councilors we have a couple agenda items after the public hearing. I will now invite folks to speak for the second time, and you do have another 10 minutes that spoke already. And does anybody who's already addressed the council want to speak again? Paul, I saw your hand first in the back.
Paul Milne, 52 Livingston. I just had to come back because I misspoke. I'm going to get a lot of gripping from my friends looking at this. You're paying $600 a year in tax? No. Sorry, $6,000. I don't know if you guys caught that, but it was more like a monthly number. And then the line item thing, just to add to that, Mr. Young, that one he talked about, that's an 18% increase on that one item there. So I'll have to see if he's got any more he found for us. All right, thanks for letting me come up again.
Thank you, Paul. And anyone else? I think Mr. Young, you raised your hand. Mr. Young.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. Earlier, I started talking about the information tech services. That's department number 114, page 59. And as I started to talk about was that going forward with all of these departments, you've taken out the history of the health insurance and the workers' compensation has been taken out, which now distorts tracking ability of following how much these departments cost going out for the next going out to the further years. So by taking out the health benefits, taking out the workers' comp, you now reduced the bottom line for that particular department. And tracking it is going to be tough. So anyway, as we're on page 59. You have Civic Plus, which is part of Internet services. And Internet Plus, there's one for FOI, social media archiving. Last year it was $13,000, and this year it's $18,279. This should be reduced. I mean, there's no reason for having such a large increase in any line item. And there might be even other items there that I'm not seeing, but that one really sticks out like a sore thumb. Also, at the very bottom, it's called IT equipment and software. We have $55,500 last year, and this year it's $77,000. And that's quite an increase that we're now getting hit with. And that's an area we should be looking at to reduce more cost. You know, you have to go through these things and look for nickels and dimes. And at the end of the day, they'll add up to something which is maybe a lot of money. But it has to happen. And, you know, we go back to the town manager's office, his department. I mean, he's got 6 people. 6 people, for crying out loud. He should be reducing that in number, down at least by 2. There's no reason to keep it up that high. And as some speakers have spoke about the increase that they're looking at, and I'm looking at as well. And this is not good at all for any of us. So, where's my pages? Here we have elections on page 72. Elections are number 116. We have, in the year 2023-24, they had a 5.4% increase. The next year, they had a 0 increase. Followed by the next year, they had a 35% increase. And now this year, it's a 20% increase. I understand. There's early voting and all of that. But we should be getting, there's got to be a way of reducing these dollar amounts. And again, nickel and dime, and you'll come up with a lot of money at the end of the day. I'm missing a, let me go back to my desk. This is my guide. Yes, I was mentioning, and all these departments are missing the cost for health insurance and for the workers' comp, which blows the bottom number out. But that's to distort the number. And that's done on purpose, and it's too bad, but that's how the town manager has decided to do his budgets. If we now go to page 91. Page 91 is finance. Again, we're missing those numbers on employee health and workers' comp, but down under the area called support systems, you have a line item there called clear government budgeting system. Last year was $36,615. This year it's $39,000. That's an 8% increase. And, you know, electronics is electronics. It's supposed to be cheaper. But obviously something's wrong here. There's also munis time and attendant executive. Now, last year was $15,900 for that, and this year it's $23,500. That's a 32% increase. And that should be taken out. That should be changed. Tax assessor's office, which is on page 98. We have some mail-in, under copy and binding, external. We have a mail-in phase-in increase notice of $11,000. That's a brand new cost, thanks to our phase-in. Remember how how you wonder how much something costs that you're doing? I mean, there's one of your many costs. And then, of course, there's postage on top of it. So the phase-in you could have done in 1 year, but you didn't tell us. Oh, you're going to, these are the extra charges you're going to get. You're going to have to, there's going to be a mail-in that's going to have to be created, which is going to cost $11,000. There's going to be postage that's going to be involved with so many more thousands of dollars. You don't tell us anything. I don't know how we're supposed to know. And then you ask us to believe you. Next one, central office. That's on page 107. Central office. We have several items here that postage, Neo Post, it's called, $30,000 last year. This year, $33,000. That's 9% increase. You know, if we're looking at a 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, whatever, 2 or 3% increase, we're paying 9% increase. And the bottom, and the item right below it, it's called postage tax. $16,769, it's now $19,000. That's a 13.3% increase. Go further down, there's mobile phones with Verizon for $48,000. Well, and now it's $51,000. Well, that is 5%. Still high. Still high. And somehow someone should be negotiating these numbers down. I don't know why you're not. But I guess public employees just can't do it. The next one is economic community development on page 117. Again, we have the issue of, oh yeah, this is where we're going to have from the assessor's office, someone transferring in. I don't know why we're doing this, but anyway. Again, we have we have training, travel and training and dues. We have the economic development director. Last year was $6,500 for that person. Now it's going to be $12,500. I mean, that's double. That's double. Yes, Mr. Werner. Yes. Thank you. The next one, EDIC, Great Elm Social Media Marketing. $10,000 last year. This year it's $12,500. That's 20% increase. Same with the next line item, Heritage communication, website maintenance, whatever, $10,000, $12,500 this year. Another 20% increase. Then the next one, RDA appraisal. $50,000 last year, it's $100,000 this year. You know, Mayor, I go down into the weeds because that's where you find the problems. That's where you find savings. I don't think anybody here does anything. So anyway, RDA, $50,000 last year, this year $100,000. That's 100% increase, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Hey, thank you very much. I also found some other issues too where you got doubles.
Thank you, Mr. Young. You can send them in. Thank you, Mr. Young. Does anybody else wish to address the council that perhaps has already addressed or has not in a public hearing? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. Once, going twice. The public hearing is closed. Before we go to the next agenda item, I want to point out we have 5 budget workshops coming up in the next few weeks. If I get these dates wrong, someone can correct me, but I think I know them. We have this Wednesday, April 22nd, Thursday, April 23rd, next week, the 29th and 30th, and April 4th. May 4th. 5. They're all here. They all begin at 6 o'clock, and we'll have different departments, and we welcome the public, but at those meetings, there's not public input on those. It's council discussions, workshop form. I do want to mention, too, before we go on to the next 2 budget items, this Wednesday there is a fundraiser at Village Pizza for the Blue Star Memorial, which is Parks and Rec initiative to go in the Frank Weston Gardens. So if you want to support that initiative, go to Village Pizza between 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. And also Wednesday from 3 to 7 at the Great Meadows Trust, 162 Middletown Avenue, is an Earth Day celebration. The Great Meadows Trust and Keisha Farms are putting on a bunch of family activities. So a lot going on. And Councilor Chacho, you have joined at the busiest time as we have all these weeks. These 3 weeks are the busiest time. So
all good.
Yeah, that's good. So at this time, with the public hearing going, we have 2 bids to go over tonight, and then that will be it for the meeting. So number 1, I'm going to ask for a motion. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Motion to authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Construction Solutions Group for owner's representative and project manager consultant services for the elementary school construction and renovation project at Highcrest Elementary School, Webb Elementary School, and Charles Wright Elementary School in an amount not to exceed $2,737,223.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to ask Erica Robertson, the Assistant Town Manager, to come up and give an overview of this. Erica and Sally Katz have been leading it on the staff side to go through this process. Emily would have been here, Zambrella would have been here tonight, but she injured her foot and was not able to make it, so Erica's stepping in here.
Thank you. Welcome, Erica.
Yeah, thanks. This is exciting. This is the second piece to our three-legged stool of guidance and consultants that we need for our elementary school project. We've already gotten the architect on board, TSKP, back in the wintertime, and they're working hard at getting their schematic design done. Right. The second piece that we're doing tonight is our owner's representative, which is an integral part of our project. They are the people that are going to be helping the town make sure that everything goes as planned. Schedule, budget, making sure any disputes between the contractor and the architect, if there are issues that come along, they're going to mediate that for us. Not that we're not going to be there. We're going to be there throughout the process, but it's an enormous amount of work to do to manage a $239 million project. And quite frankly, Sally and I don't have the capacity or the knowledge to do it all. So that's something that we've been looking at since the start of this project. And tonight we are asking you to award a contract to CSG Construction Solutions Group. We met with them. We interviewed firms. We interviewed 3 firms. We had 4 come to us under the RFQ process. There's a very specific process with the state in order to get our reimbursement. The School Advisory Building Committee has been following that process, and tonight we are looking for you to do the CSG group. They came out on top. They provided us their cost proposals after their qualifications, and the group chose them to move forward. The Advisory School Building Committee chose them. The Board of Education has also endorsed it the last week, and that final step is tonight for you guys to approve that. If there's any other specific questions, I'll do my best to try to answer them, but that's where we are. And just so you know, too, I think the town manager spoke about it a little bit already, but the next phase you'll be seeing us in about a month asking for the construction manager at risk, which is the guys that are going to build the project, right? The construction general contractor who's going to get us all the trades, get us all the contracts, electrical, plumbing, all that good stuff. And once that's done, we expect that to be done for the May 18th meeting. Then we'll have our whole stool will be nice and steady with the architect, the OPM, and the CM.
Thank you, Erica. Appreciate that and all your work and the rest of the town staff interviewing candidates and recommending this candidate tonight. I will open it up to the council. Anybody wish to ask questions? Councilor Pentelo.
Just a quick question. What made you pick them over the others? What made them stand out? Were they the cheapest? Were they the most expensive?
No, they're probably, they might be the most expensive, to be honest with you. I don't have that quite in front of me. They were very well adept at being able to produce schools year on year in sequential order with phased programs like ours. You know, many companies can do one-offs, a high school, an elementary school, but we want 3 elementary schools in 3 years. You know, total construction of Highcrest is starting in about a year, within a year from now, we better be moving pretty fast there because we want to open that school in the fall of 2028. And then 2029 comes Webb, and 2030 is Charles Wright. So to be able to move that kind of project forward was really key. And they have proven record of that in Norwich and they're working in Norwalk. It's all the ends. And they're also, they produce some good projects in Newington right next door. Also, additionally, they have quite the good staff, in our opinion. on working with the State Office of School Grants Construction. They've been able, they have very good recording and financial record keeping and ability to make sure that we get every penny that we need to get back from the state, and to also be ready for that audit that will eventually come. And those audit processes take years. We're still auditing the high school 8 years later. So they were able to show us that they have that ability. They also have two kind of cool things, if you will. One is they have a dedicated staff member that does all the financials that will work very closely with Mike O'Neill in our finance department. And their staff member actually knows how to use Munis, which is our financial software package, and they'll be able to, work more seamlessly through that process. And second, they also have a retired educator. She's been a superintendent. She was the Cromwell High School principal for over a decade, and she brings forth that ability to help us move the project along with a real sense of what the education piece is. For instance, in the interview, she mentioned, you don't want to put the special ed class next to the cafeteria, because those kids are people are going to be coming back and forth, they're going to be next door, there's going to be loud things. Sometimes you need that little extra education knowledge that's going to help that project just become a little bit better than what it could have been otherwise, and that was something unique that CSG offered.
Thank you.
Further council questions or comments? Councilor Weiner.
Just some comments, no questions, Erica, you're off the hook. First off, I think this is a record for the most building committee members becoming counselors, so I want to welcome Councilor DiCiaccio now up here as well. But I really just wanted to thank the committee for all the work they've done, all the feedback I received on CSG, and I think Brian was one of those members at the time that interviewed them, so I've heard really good things. This is really the most important position of this project, in my opinion. Project management and really program management. In this case, you got 3 different buildings that are going to be built over 8-9 years. It's super important. So glad to see the second leg of that stool being stood up today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Weiner. Further council comments or questions? I will just say again, thank you, Erica, the rest of the town staff, also to the building committee and to the Board of Ed. We've tried to be aligned all the way through, and I think we have been in terms of building committee doing their work, the board doing theirs, and then bringing it to the council. And we've all been supportive of all of those things, and it's worked well in terms of the 3 groups being aligned. So if there's no further questions or comments, I'll call the vote. Everybody in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes. Oh.
I would like to recuse myself, since at the time I did sit on the advisory board committee. So for this vote.
Right, yeah, Councilor DiCiaccio, let's find Sue, do you have that? That's an abstain or recusing?
Actually, do a recusal. It's a little different than an
So is a difference.
But I think he said.
Yes, I would like to recuse myself.
Yeah, and that's what he said. I said abstain, so he's correct. Recusal, Sue, do you have that?
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Good, okay, so we are done with that item, and I'm going to move to the next item, and I need a motion. Deputy Mayor Rhodes.
Motion to award a contract for pharmacy benefit management and stop-loss insurance with Cigna Health and Life Insurance Company, and to authorize the town manager to execute a contract and related agreements for the same.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, I want to ask Eric Robertson to come up and give an overview of this. As I mentioned in my presentation, this was an effort we made to try to get the health care costs down. That was going to be going up 13.5%, and that was a big number for us. So by being able to work with our consultants to negotiate a different deal with Cigna at a very comparable plan. So Erica can go over some of the details.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you. I have Chris Monroe, our consultant from USI, in case I mess up anything, to help me out. But I think it's pretty straightforward this year. It's kind of exciting. As the town manager said, we watch these numbers every month. We have an insurance committee meeting that meets monthly. We watch what's going on every month with our claims. If you recall, we are a self-insured health insurance plan in Wethersfield, which means that we pay the claims. We use a third party, whether it be Anthem or Cigna or Aetna or any other health insurance company, to manage our program for us. But we pay the bills. They literally come to finance, and finance pays the bill back out to that company. In Wethersfield, we've had that situation, that type of insurance program for many years, and it's benefited us very well. Probably 6 years ago, the town moved from Anthem to Cigna. At that time, or at some point during that time, the pharmacy benefits were carved out, as they say, carved out, and it wasn't with Cigna. We went with another group called RX Benefits. At that time, whenever that happened, it was cheaper, it was a better benefit for the town to move that way. We also have what is called stop-loss insurance. For our program. Being self-insured, you don't want to have to pay everything in case something really, really bad happens, right? So it's an insurance policy on your self-insured program. We have that with a group called CT Prime, which is a consortium of local governments. They've been around for quite some time. They provide us a stop loss at $150,000, which means that if I become ill, or a family member becomes ill and my costs to the plan exceed $150,000, the stop loss or the insurance comes into play, and finance doesn't pay that bill anymore. The insurance company picks it up. We have had several years of very large claims, close to 7 to 10 a year, that have been very large. It's like getting into car accidents every year, right? We kind of keep getting into these fender benders with our health insurance in terms of these large claims. And the stop loss, we have benefited from being in that consortium for quite some time, and we're really not sure why they haven't kicked us out yet. So this year, as we always do with our marketing every year, we look at the program and say, what's going on? Can we do better? What do we need to do this year? For the last few years, nothing has changed. This year, we went out to the market with the help of Chris and his staff to look and see what was out there, and we have come to you tonight with a proposal to change our pharmacy from RX Benefits back into Cigna. So that we say Cigna will take it back in-house, and the same thing with our stop loss. And with the stop loss, because of those fender benders we've been having over the last few years, we need to move up our stop loss to $200,000 from $150,000. So now the town will be on the hook, if you will, for the first $200,000 for every member or body that's in our group. And this is board and town. So this is many, many lives. That all said, as the manager said in his presentation, we saw a number we didn't really like. A few months ago, we were able to do this process. Every month, Chris does his analysis of the claims. So, we started off at a 13.5% increase. Today, we're at a 12.7% increase if we do nothing. Every month that we go forward through June 30th, it'll change slightly. So if anyone is going to quote us on those exact numbers, they are changing every month. That said, though, moving forward, if you approve this tonight, we could get down to approximately 8.5%. 8.2 is probably where the number is, but we're conservative. We would probably go with an 8.5, which would save us a million, would save us all in about $600,000. And that includes the liability of increasing from 150 to 200. Analysis has been done on that. Even though that's going to cost us more money, even if you take the 7 to 10 claims that we have every year and add 50,000 to it, we still come out ahead $600,000. So this is an exercise we do every year, every month, essentially. And if anyone was on council a couple years ago when we changed from Anthem to Cigna, you know that there was a little bit of a hubbub. There were some things that weren't done perhaps in the most timely fashion. No worries on that. We've done everything we need to do with our union members. All 7 unions have been notified of this change. I received almost nothing back. A few questions. Our equivalency rate, if you will, or the matching on the drugs is 99%, meaning people really shouldn't see any disturbance on their drugs. And for the 1 or 2 offs that we do know about, we already have solutions for them. So I think it's a win-win. I encourage you to pass it.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to open it up for councilors' comments or questions. Councilor Pentelow.
I'm going to recuse myself from this.
Any other council comments or questions before we vote?
I have a question. On the stopgap, how much, for every 50,000, what's our reduction?
We actually have to pay more by 50,000. Again, this year, if I become ill, the town would pay $150,000 in claims.
No, understood.
And then next year, you would have to pay 200 before the insurance comes in.
But for every 50 that the town chooses to incur for each person before the insurance company, the carrier, takes the cost, there has to be a savings?
That's a Chris question.
Chris, just introduce yourself to the council and your role. Good question, Councilor. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Monroe. I'm with USI, and I currently serve as the town's health and welfare consultant. A little bit by way of background on the stop loss. If we were to maintain that $150,000 pooling point, our expected increase was $742,000. To go to the $200,000, it took that down to $100,000. So on a net basis, we were looking at a premium savings of $642,000. We needed to make sure we offset that against the increase in liability. So the way we did that calculation is we went back to 2022, and we looked at the average number of claims between 150 and 200. We generally average about 7 people that fall within that band. You took 7 times 350, an additional $350,000 in liability. On a net basis, we're going to save about $300,000 in moving to that higher pooling point. The added comfort in moving to it is the history supports that as being the appropriate pooling point. So this wasn't a direct response to the premium increase. It was in large measure, but our history supported a move to a higher pooling level.
So the history supported an additional 50,000 on the stopgap?
Correct.
One more time, if we added another 50, so it would be $250,000 on our stopgap, but the town would have to pay for every claim, approximately 7 claims. Is there a savings? Because it's all a gamble. How many claims are we going to have or not?
Correct. Every increase beyond that 7 that we had assumed would take that $300,000 savings down by $50,000. So if we have 8 claims, we're going to save $250,000. If we have 9 claims, we're going to save $200,000. You know, our break even is in that 10 or 11 claim level. And if you go back and look at our history, and again, it's not a history measured in 1 or 2 year increments, it's going back 4 years, we've never come close to having 8, 9, 10 claims over that, between that $150,000 and $200,000 level.
And Brian, I think, are you asking if we...
Eric, if you can come up to the mic.
If Brian, are you asking if we move to 250 for stop loss? Like, is there more savings?
Correct.
If we go to 300,000, is there
Correct.
more savings?
Because
I don't know that we have that data.
The liability.
Yeah, it's the higher you push that pooling point, it becomes de minimis savings.
Right.
So 200 is the right level. And the way we got there is we tested at 175, we tested at 200, we tested at 250, and all of the evidence came down to 200 being the right level. Plus, we also had to recognize, were we willing to take that much of a leap from an added liability standpoint? So that's kind of how we settled in and made the recommendation that 200 was the right number.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor DiCiaccio. Further council comments or questions? Being none, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And Sue, do you have Councilor Pentelow recuse himself? Thank you, Erica. Chris, thank you. Appreciate all the work. Councilors, that's all we have. And if I'll take a motion to adjourn, remember, it's Wednesday night at 6 o'clock here, budget workshop.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Wong, second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.